I always say that those moments are like moments where time just stops and you're not really thinking about anything else.
Starting months in advance, especially throughout DJM and when you have the opportunity to also do those videos, I think that's a really cool opportunity to show some creativity.
I really like looking back on accomplishments that you've had too, and it's like, okay, like I can do this and like I can be worthy of this award too.
It's really showing how have you been involved with the Holstein cow? What does the Holstein cow mean to you?
Welcome to Holstein Connections, where we share the latest stories, insights, and news from Holstein Association USA and beyond. The largest dairy cattle breed association in the world, Holstein Association USA provides leadership, information, and services to help dairy producers worldwide be successful. Whether you're in the barn, on the road, or just tuning in for your dose of dairy news, we're glad you're here. This is Holstein Connections.
Welcome back to the Holstein Connections podcast. My name is Jacob Schaefer. I am a 2023 Distinguished Junior Member Finalist, and now a Holstein USA sales representative. I have the pleasure of hosting today's episode where we're featuring two rising leaders in the dairy industry. Joining me are Keenan Thygesen, 2024 DJM finalist, and Kylie Konyn, 2023 DJM finalist. Keenan and Kylie, welcome to the podcast, and thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having us today.
As fellow Distinguished Junior Member finalists, we will get to know you better while sharing some tips and tricks for anyone applying for the DJM contest in 2026. You have both been active Junior Holstein members for quite a while, and I am excited to dig into your experiences with this amazing program. Should we jump right into the questions?
Let's have at it.
To start us off, give us a quick introduction to who you are and what led you to applying for the Distinguished Junior Member Award.
So my name is Kylie Konyn. I'm originally from San Diego, California, where my family has the last remaining dairy farm in the county. Growing up in a community that didn't necessarily have a thriving dairy population, it was really getting involved with Holstein Association and the Junior Holstein Association activities that allowed me to see the state of California, allowed me to see the country, and allowed me to get involved and meet other like-minded individuals within the dairy industry. And so having participated throughout the shows, throughout Dairy Bowl, Dairy Jeopardy, the Young Distinguished Junior Member Contest, striving for competing and applying for the Distinguished Junior Member Award was something that just the admiration for what the award stood for, and then also the culmination of everything that I had done throughout my junior career was really, for me, the main motivating factor as to applying for the DJM award.
My name is Keenan Thygesen. I am from Tunbridge, Vermont, currently a senior at the University of Minnesota. I guess what mainly led me to applying for the DJM program was my love for the Holstein cow. I've grown up. I'm currently fifth generation on Howe Acres Farm in Tunbridge, Vermont. Our prefix is Howe Acres. So just growing up on that farm, there's a lot of history there and a lot of really good Holstein cowmen behind that too. And so that was the main motivator for me to go ahead and try and live up to the expectations that everybody else in my family's kind of put ahead of me. And yeah, basically just going through showing, like Kylie said, and having that experience and getting out to meet new people too. I mean, I've been going to, I believe 4 years before I won DJM finalists, I had been going to National Holstein conventions and basically knew almost all the juniors there by the time I got done. So that was a pretty good opportunity to just network with everybody and get to know a lot of major influencers that are going to have a major impact in the Holstein industry in the future.
Yeah, I think those are really great responses, and I have the pleasure of knowing both of you pretty well, and I've really enjoyed getting to know both of you, I think, as very important and rising leaders in the industry, and so it's great to have you here today, so thanks for giving your introduction. Guys, the first time you open that application, it can look a little bit time-consuming, I know from experience, but walk through how much time you spent working on your book and preparing for your interview.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know the application looks very daunting when you first open it up. You're like, oh, wow, I have to put my whole life story in a book, basically. So, yeah, I would definitely say like months ahead of time, you're just like reading through questions. And then as you're coming up with responses, like writing little notes down about like, okay, I want to add a little bit of this in and a little bit of this in. Just when you, I don't know, when you think of it randomly. I do that all the time. I use my notes app a lot, just thinking of little things and reminders that like either I need to do or like this should go into this or like what cows should be bred to what when having a conversation with somebody or something along those lines too. So yeah, I don't even know how many hours I spent on the application. It was a lot. I mean, but in the end, it all worked out. I mean, it's definitely a good experience, especially when you're like building your resume or something along those lines, or really like looking back on accomplishments that you've had too. And it's like, okay, like I can do this and like I can be worthy of this award too. I just wanted to put my best foot forward, really. Just give the judges something really cool to look at and explain your story. I mean, like the biggest thing is just be truthful on your application and be honest about who helped you throughout your process too. Because I know in my Holstein story, there's probably 4 to 5 people that I listed on there, and I could list 200 more if I really wanted to. But just shouting out those major players that really had a key impact on how you've come throughout the Holstein industry.
Yeah, and Kylie, what do you have to give us in terms of how long does it take to put something like this together?
So full honesty, for my YDJM book a few years prior to that, I had started it the week it was due, my very first attempt. And obviously that was not necessarily the best choice or the best decision in the matter. But I think really evaluating things that next year when I applied for YDJM again, and then later on when I applied for DJM, to Keenan's point, starting months in advance, especially throughout DJM and when you have the opportunity to also do those videos, I think that's a really cool opportunity to show some creativity. Now, depending where you are geographically, filming those videos can be a little bit of a challenge. Filming them in Southern California in December wasn't too bad of an idea on Christmas break. But really give yourself some time and make sure to follow along with your state's rules as well, especially if you're applying at your state level first prior to applying at the national level. Different states may have different requirements for when those initial applications are due. To Keenan's point, mention those mentors that you have throughout, but then also don't be afraid to utilize those mentors throughout the process, especially when putting together your book.
For sure. And I think those are great points by both of you guys. I mean, with big projects, it can take a village to really come to that final product. And I think that it's important to, like you guys said, recognize the people that supported you along the way. Who supported you guys the most while you were putting together your application?
My parents, first and foremost, they supported me a lot. They were the base of the operation and really helping me get my application started and kind of helping brainstorm all what I should put in it too, because you can think of stuff, but I don't know, obviously you don't remember some of the stuff from the early days of showing that maybe they remember funny stories that you don't quite remember or something like that. So just having somebody to bounce ideas off of was definitely really helpful, and just helping proofread through stuff too. I know I had a lot of people at school actually read through my application, those who are involved in the dairy industry and those who aren't, just so it made sense to both parties and everybody could kind of grab an idea of my Holstein story. So that was really beneficial. And just having people within the Holstein industry in New England too. I know I had a couple mock media like interviews. So we did a couple Zoom calls because I was actually out in Minnesota right before. But yeah, just doing a couple Zoom calls and having them bounce questions off of too, and having them proofread it and see what else they think I should add in my application too, that I might not think is that important and they might think that it is. So definitely a ton of people were involved in my application.
And Keenan, adding some personal stories, especially from your early days of your Junior Holstein career, do you think that added a little bit of background to your application that maybe helped the judges understand who Keenan Thygesen is?
100%. Yeah. For me, I added in a ton of personal stories. I mean, the biggest thing is just to tell the truth and let the judges know who you really are, because that'll give you the best opportunities to be successful within the DJM program, I think. And just bringing back some of like the good memories too, just recalling stuff that happened at shows or at Holstein conventions. It's all fun going through the process too.
And Kylie?
Like Keenan said, a really big influential person or people in terms of helping me put together my binder was my parents. Besides my parents, I really heavily leaned on both Carol McComb and then Kirsten Arias through the California Holstein Network, also Kate Texera, and kind of just utilizing our California Holstein board In addition to adult leaders, I also heavily leaned on former DJM applicants themselves, whether that be Haley Fernandez or Alex Scaminini. And I think it's really having the opportunity to look at former people's binders and realize that your stories aren't necessarily going to be the same stories they share, but then you can kind of formulate ideas. You can look throughout their presentation and see how they laid out their binder specifically. And I think that really allows you to put your own individuality into it and kind of set up how you want to do it. And to Keenan's point, include what stories make you you.
So, Kylie, for you, it sounds like you really lent on the state association side and I guess former finalists. Do you think that added a little bit something else to your application as well, helped you kind of fine tune the details of your application?
I would say so. In terms of like when they provided feedback, they're not able to write your story for you. That's something you have to do first and foremost yourself. But whether it be looking over to make sure that grammatically it's correct, or whether they look over and share those stories that you have maybe forgotten about over the years, because they've all been looking at you throughout the course of your junior career, kind of from an outside perspective. They kind of have memories of, oh, this was the first time I saw you. You were getting this accomplishment, or you were showing at this show for the first time. And so I think that's cool to sometimes get an outside person's perspective that you've grown up around, and they've been able to see your personal development. And although they may not necessarily be writing recommendation letters for this kind of event, I think it's really helpful for them to be able to give their feedback on things that you should be able to include. And then also to the point, just having former examples. There's not one correct way to do a DJM binder, and I think that's the really cool part. But by utilizing those former recipients, you're able to get different ideas and come up with your own style on how you want to attack it. Also, selfish little plug for the Holstein Association interview contest. I think that's an amazing way to practice those interview skills. Yes, it's not necessarily going to be the same questions that you get asked during a DJM interview, but it's just one more exposure to be able to practice your public speaking.
I definitely went through a couple of interviews with past DJM finalists and just going through the process and learning from them how they went through the process and how they prepared, because it puts you more at ease, like knowing how they prepared and knowing that like you can take that same route if you so choose, or you can go ahead and do your own thing as well. And I was really thankful that Nicole Schwab, our New England leader, basically, she really helped reach out to the past DJM finalists and organize a Zoom meeting too. So that was really helpful.
Now we're going to take a quick break to hear a short word from Holstein Association USA.
Looking for a summer opportunity to gain real-world experience in the dairy industry? Holstein Association USA and the Holstein Foundation are offering 2 hands-on paid internships leading up to the 2026 National Holstein Convention in Orlando, Florida. Whether your interests are in communications like photography, videography, social media, writing, or PR, or in youth programs supporting contests such as Dairy Bowl and Dairy Jeopardy, these internships give you the chance to build skills, gain industry experience, and learn from our experienced team. Internships are paid, include housing, travel, and meals during the convention, and give you a front row seat to one of the dairy industry's major annual events. Applications are due January 15, 2026. To apply, visit the Holstein Association USA website, navigate to our association in the main menu, and select employment opportunities from the drop-down. Build experience, make connections, and take a meaningful step towards a career in dairy with Holstein Association USA and the Holstein Foundation.
So, Kylie, what would you say is the first step someone should take if they want to apply for the DJM award?
The first step that I think someone should take when applying for the Distinguished Junior Member Award is look at all of the steps that are required, formulating your plan of attack, setting up a timeline as to when you want to have things done, looking out for potential resources or examples, or just asking for advice. I would say your number one step in applying is just going to be find out what it's about and ask those questions. If you don't know, it's going to sneak up on you a lot sooner. And so it's really kind of just being prepared, asking those questions, and building that team of people around you to help support you through the process.
Great answer.
Yeah, I think for me, there's a lot of kids that want to apply for DJM early. And I think kind of ask yourself, like, am I ready to go through this process? Because it is a long process, but that has a lot of upside in the end for sure. At the same point in time, I've known a couple of people that are like, okay, when should I apply? When's the right time? And I feel like I applied my last year of junior eligibility, and I thought that was really beneficial because it allowed me to get another year under my belt of Holstein activities and experience and public speaking. Like Kylie said with the interview contest, just more experience in general and more experiences in the dairy industry. I think that was really the first step for me. Like, okay, I'm finally ready to take this step and go through this whole process.
It sounds like that was a valuable angle for you to use, Keenan, to be able to use that experience to your advantage when applying for the DJM award. We're going to switch gears a little bit here, and I want to dive into what you were feeling around the time at convention that you were a finalist, or rather semifinalist at that time. I remember the overwhelming anticipation I felt sitting through the Junior Awards Breakfast in 2023. Honestly, before my name was called, I was convinced I didn't make the cut. What was that feeling like for you when you heard your name as a DJM finalist?
I always say that those moments are like moments where time just stops and you're not really thinking about anything else. I've been thankful enough to have like a couple of those moments. And it's really cool, honestly, because you don't quite realize it at the time, the feat of becoming a DJM finalist that you've just accomplished. Just having that opportunity and then looking back a couple days later and wishing that I had soaked it up more and really lived in the moment, because you don't really realize what you've just done. And then you go back and look at it and you're just like, wow, I actually did that. But yeah, that whole day sitting through the Junior Awards banquet, it's nerve-wracking. I'm not going to lie. It's like sitting in the judging contest room after you're done with your reasons, just kind of awaiting. Like, there's so much suspense, I would say. Obviously, you're going to put your best foot forward, but at the same point in time, there could be 8 other kids that did just as well as you, if not better. But I think for the interview process, for me at least, just be honest with the judges and be yourself. There's nothing more that they want to listen to than your true story. Because if you're adding a bunch of different fluff and other things in there that don't necessarily need to be added in, then they're going to be like, okay. But they just want to get to know you too. Because a lot of the judges, they might not necessarily know you on a very personal level, gotten the opportunity to talk to you and have a conversation on how you view things within the dairy industry. So I think, yeah, just be yourself. That's my biggest advice to anybody looking to apply for DJM.
I remember the awards ceremony, and what was so cool about that convention is just kind of all of the people that you met alongside that process. And it's really cool even now, a few years later, at the Wisconsin Summer Championship show this year, we had 4 of the 6 DJM finalists, and it was really getting the opportunity to meet the other people who were semifinalists at the time and get to hear their stories and realize that we all come from different backgrounds. We all have different interests, but at the same time, we all share the interest of the Holstein cow. And so I think that was really one of the biggest things for me that stood out about that competition is when you're sitting there, yes, you're anxious about yourself, but then you're also having the opportunity to celebrate and you're seeing your friends that you've met throughout the past week and have the opportunity to get to know. You're seeing them being recognized. And then when you get recognized, you have that relief in the moment, but then you get up there and it's one big celebration and one big congratulations up there as well.
Yeah, Kylie, and interestingly enough, you and I got to actually sit across from each other during that banquet in 2023. So it's kind of a cool full circle moment for both of us to be here and come a long way. And Keenan as well. Like, I really appreciate your guys' time, and I'm glad that we can do this. Jumping back to the application, I think there's a few possible applicants that might be listening to this podcast, and they want to know, what is the biggest piece of advice that you would give to somebody that's applying for the award?
My biggest piece of advice to someone who would want to apply for the DJM award is be yourself, be honest, and be truthful. I think those were a lot of the same messages that Keenan and I have both shared today, but it's really showing how have you been involved with the Holstein cow? What does the Holstein cow mean to you? That shows through both in your binder and then also in the actual interview process itself. It's cool to see, I know, in talking to other applicants the same year as me, how each of the interviews was tailored to our Holstein story. How some of us focused more on our show careers, how some focused more with our involvement with Dairy Bowl and Dairy Jeopardy. And then for some of us, it was just purely the involvement kind of at the family farm level. And I think that's one really unique part about it is to be a DJM doesn't necessarily mean one blanket statement, but it's really how you've shaped your involvement within the Holstein breed.
Kylie just took the words right out of my mouth, but basically be honest, be yourself, and don't compare yourself to others too, because we're all different people and we all have very different experiences within the dairy industry. And put your best foot forward and show why you're so passionate about the Holstein breed. I think that's the biggest advice that I have. You need to show the judges, this is why I want to be here, because I love the Holstein breed and I want to see it thrive in the future.
Those are great tips from both of you. I'm going to jump in and add mine. It's important to spend extra time polishing your writing sections. For the judges, this is often their only impression of you outside of your interview. Utilizing a theme or a storyline to connect each section really helps pull everything together and takes your book to the next level. Outside of that advice, what skills did you gain from this program that have helped you in your career or personal growth? And was there anything that came unexpected?
One of the biggest skills that you learn about is public speaking and learning how to talk to people professionally and confidently too. The same thing goes for dairy judging as well. You have to be confident and not mumbling, basically. Public speaking was definitely huge, and also networking. Being able to go up to somebody random, go shake their hand, introduce yourself, let them hear your story as well. That's what we kind of did with all the judges in the interview process. They might know who you are, but they might not. So you need to go in and tell them, this is who I am, this is my story, this is why I want to be here, this is why I love the Holstein cow.
I would just add on to those points is every single day you're selling yourself. And in this particular case, you're selling yourself through your conciseness, your reasoning, to Keenan's point, utilizing all of the same skills that we grow and develop through dairy judging, dairy challenge, or the numerous contests provided by our industry. And I think that's something our industry does really well on, is developing that next generation of youth. And to Keenan's point as well, the networking opportunities. You don't know when you're walking into different rooms who you're going to have the opportunity to meet and what meeting those people is going to do for you later on down the road. I've ran into judges now that were in that room at various other industry events, and it's kind of cool to see that initial selling yourself and that first reaction, and it's making that connection with them.
Yeah, those are good stories from both of you. And I know that we at the Holstein Association really put forth a lot of effort into cultivating the skills in the youth through the DJM contest. And it's what the contest was really originally provided for. For you guys, what was the most fun or memorable part about being a finalist, or something that you found fun just to do at convention over the years that you've been?
Having attended 9 conventions, I would just say the most fun memory of all of those conventions, and in particular the year I was a DJM, was having the opportunity to meet other youth from throughout the industry.
Yeah, I would say I'm not as seasoned of a veteran as Kylie is. I've only attended 4 conventions, but just being able to meet the other DJMs that you might not necessarily be able to interact with at anything else that you've gone to before, and getting to know them a lot more on a personal level. Like, I know my whole DJM class got pretty close over the time that we were at Holstein Convention, and I only knew really 2 of them going into the process. So it was really cool to get to meet everybody, and now seeing everybody at other events has been awesome.
The DJM contest is a big part of why I've made a lot of connections in the industry, and I know you guys have as well, and that's played a big part in all of our journeys, I'm sure. Is there anything else that comes to mind for either of you that you'd like to share with our listeners about the Distinguished Junior Member Program?
Absolutely. I think that if you really love Holsteins and you want to be truly involved, I would encourage a lot of people to apply. I mean, even if you start working on your application a year before and are just reviewing stuff and you don't necessarily feel ready and you want to do it the next year, that's fine. But just get started on your application and really go through the motions of, okay, this is how I want my application to look. This is what I want to be in it. And I think as far as doing the application will also help you with different scholarship applications or stuff like that along those lines. I mean, going back and listing some show winnings or something along those lines, or other accomplishments that you've had within other industries too, that can also be tacked into other scholarship applications. So that's been really beneficial for me. I apply to a bunch of scholarships every year, and I always go back and look at my DJM book just to see what else could I add into those too. So it's very beneficial not only for the program, but for other things as well.
I think especially coming from San Diego, obviously I grew up on a farm background. However, that wasn't the same for all members of my DJM class. And I think that's really one of the unique parts about our association as a whole is whether you have one cow or whether you have thousands of cows to your name. This is a program that you can go ahead and participate in. And it's really about becoming involved in that network that Holstein provides and how, as a dairy industry as a whole, regardless of the size, you really benefit from having those one-on-one interrelationships with other people. And it's really the whole industry working to advance the Holstein cow.
Well, I just want to close us off on a fun little note here. So I have 5 would you rather questions that I'll read you 2 options, and I want you guys to just tell us your pick. The first question is show ring whites or farm clothes?
Farm clothes.
Farm clothes.
Junior dance or junior workshop?
Junior dance.
Junior dance.
Extra cheesy pizza or ice cream sundae?
Ice cream sundae, no doubt.
Ice cream sundae, easy choice.
This one's a hard one. Dairy judging contest or junior Holstein convention contest?
Both.
Hard to say. Yeah, they're so even.
They're so different.
Last one. Fitting or showmanship?
Showmanship.
Fitting.
Well, that was fun, guys. Thank you for playing along. With that, we're going to close out today's episode of the Holstein Connections podcast. If today's stories have you excited to apply, or if you know somebody who should, applications for the Distinguished Junior Member Contest are open now through March 1st, 2026. To review requirements and learn more, visit the Distinguished Junior Member page under the Junior Contest tab of the revamped Holstein Association USA Junior website, www.juniorholstein.com. Thank you again for joining us today and sharing your journey.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Holstein Connections. Whether you're in the barn, on the road, or just tuning in for your dose of dairy news, we're glad you're here. Until next time, this is Holstein Connections.